Let's see if that does anything. That's the... All right, can you guys say something? All right, can you guys say something? All right, can you guys say something? All right, crud. Oh, I know why. Audio input. Crud. Oh, I know why. Device. There we go. Device not connected. There. Now we should hear something on the YouTube. Audio input. Crud. Oh, I know why. Device. There we go. Device not.
This would be a great behind-the-scenes blooper reel. You think they had this many connection problems when they were filming Attack of the Clones? George is in California, zooming them in from Sydney.
Yeah, I'm sure they do. But I'm sure George has a whole different attitude when it happens. I'm sure he's going nuts and not just like, hey, whatever. So all right, good. I got everything working now. The OBS is working. Somebody's playing sound effects. I love it. All right. All right, let's get this show on the road. Are we ready? Are we finally ready, everybody? I think we are.
We'll make magic one way or the other.
We sure will.
Magic.
All right. Here we go. Welcome to Bantha Milk Presents Around the Dejarik Table, the podcast where 4 Star Wars superfans ask 4 burning questions about the galaxy far, far away. Slightly different this week because this week, or this time, whatever, is our March, we can't say the other word, March craziness. We got some brackets for you. We're going to do some, and it's not even 16 now. We keep adding to it. If we would have had more delays, we probably would have had all 64 things filled out by now. But we're going to take something from 16 or so different options and number them down and see what the best something of Star Wars is. We don't even know where we're going with this, but we'll try our best. I'm your host, Rob, and each week I'll be joined by my 3 co-hosts now, Tom, Ken, and David. So, Tom, you take us away first. Go.
So I'm in a good mood tonight. You know why? Because I watched the release of another Andor trailer this afternoon, and it was phenomenal to hear the Emperor's voice in the trailer.
Yes.
Awesome. Have you guys seen it?
No.
Oh, man. Good one. It's got a lot of scenes from the official one from 2 weeks ago. But new trailer hinting at the Emperor making an appearance, at Darth Vader making an appearance. Awesome. So I'm flying high after that. So welcome to our podcast. You can check us out at YouTube at Bantha Milk Podcast. You can check us out on Facebook at Bantha Milk and Instagram at Bantha Milk Podcast. We also have a TikTok, but Rob's been slacking on that. Rob's the TikTok master. So, who knows when the next time he'll put a TikTok out is. So please like and subscribe us wherever you can find Bantha Milk Podcast.
And whether you're a Jedi Master, a Sith Lord, or somewhere in between, this is the place where you can have your Star Wars questions answered. But don't worry, I do not have a bad feeling about this.
No, you do not. And we are also, I didn't let David talk yet. It's top secret that he's here. But also our 4th round person here is our good friend David. He's back again. And David, you can just say hi.
Hello there.
There he is. I love it. Hello there. That's how I answer my phone every time my son calls now. I say, hello there. So yes, we have, like I said, we have something special this week. We are going to try to do some sort of a bracketology Star Wars thing. The 4 different brackets that we have nothing to do with each other whatsoever. And somehow we're going to come out with whatever the best is of all the different things that we came up with. So that's where we are. Before we do continue, I have a question for everybody here. I did post it in our chat, but I want the world to hear it as well. A while ago, I said, we're getting a lot of Andor commercials, ads, updates, all this stuff. A lot of hype about Andor. And I don't know if you guys watched Entourage back in the day, but there was a TV show, Entourage, was on HBO. And the one guy in there said, I can make a trailer that will make this movie look awesome. And the movie itself was a complete flop, and it was really stupid, and it was really bad. But they made the trailer that was awesome. That was the whole plot in the one of the episodes. So that was the big plot of it. And my fear is that we're getting so much push about Andor because the first season was so good, and the people who were Star Wars fans were really hyping it up and talking how amazing it was, which it was. It was in all of our either number 1 or number 2 Disney Plus Star Wars show of all time. So it was an amazing series. I'm afraid that season 2 is not going to be amazing because they're trying to push it so much that everybody's going to be like, well, we have so many ads for it, I guess I have to like this. How do you guys feel? Are you guys worried, or are you guys just like super stoked because of what you've seen?
I can answer first if that's all right.
Yes.
But just from what I've seen and kind of all the doors that were left open from season 1, I just still feel like there's so much to explore, surrounding his name's slipping my mind, but the older fella in the show at the end who might have some Jedi background. What is his name again?
Luthen Rail.
Yeah, Luthen Ray. Like, there's a lot of unanswered questions about him, kind of his backstory, where he's getting all these relics, and I don't know, that whole idea of like his character really intrigued me because it was something different that we haven't seen before. So even if it's just like some of these episodes exploring just his background and like where he's actually coming from, like that would excite me enough to make this show be a success. But now you're talking about this second trailer that came out that I didn't even get a chance to watch yet, where we're hearing the Emperor's voice, maybe some Darth Vader. Like, you're adding a whole nother element that wasn't involved in that first season, because we didn't get any real Jedi or Sith or lightsabers at all, and the show was amazing. Now we add all of our favorite Star Wars elements into a show that was already good. I'm having a hard time thinking that it's going to be a flop. But that's just my opinion.
Tom, Ken, you guys want to throw in on this?
I agree. I agree with David. I think they have a formula. They know it works. They have 2 really good formulas that worked: Andor season 1 and Rogue One. And I think this is going to be a mesh of the 2. I think it's going to be a little more action than the first season. And I really do think it's going to be exactly what they describe. It's going to be 4 feature movies, all set in 3 different, 3 episodes at a time. And it's going to take us into different stages of the rebellion. And I think it's going to be a great mix of elements from Andor season 1 and Rogue One. And to me, that's the perfect movie. I'm so excited about this season. I can't see it being a flop either.
Yeah, I can't see it being a flop. And what I think for this first trailer is it wasn't for people like us. We're gonna show up day one and watch it regardless of whether it's good for other people or not. I think this first trailer was to attract more attention from non-Star Wars fans. I mean, if you look at the trailer itself, it was very unusual. There was an Earth song in the trailer. There were little splashes of critically acclaimed, and that was never in any of the trailers from earlier Star Wars movies. So I think they're trying to hype this up to gather more people to Disney Plus to watch the show.
Good. Well, I hope you're all right, and I hope I'm just being cynical and paranoid because I
Being
wanted
a Star Wars fan.
I am, but I'm not hating it yet. That would be a real Star Wars fan. I would be like, "Oh, this is stupid." Darth Vader's awesome, but this is stupid. So I'm not there yet. I'm just worried that all of the haters are going to come out, which is what they're so good at doing, is immediately like this is so, and I don't.
Well, they've already come out. So I mentioned the Earth song. There were folks that were already complaining about that.
Oh my God.
They didn't like it when they did it for the Acolyte. They definitely didn't like it with this one. So it's, so what's that phrase? Haters gonna hate.
Haters gonna hate. That's right.
That's
yeah.
what the kids say.
That is what the kids say. All right. Well, good. I'm glad that I'm just being a paranoid Star Wars fan who wants it to be good, but is just afraid because, whatever. So
if it's not good, it's all your fault, Rob.
it is. It'll be all my fault.
Yeah.
So let's fingers crossed that it's not my fault. All right. Let's get into the show. Let's see what we can do here with these brackets that we have. So we have 4 sets of brackets. They have no rhyme or reason to any of them, which is what I think makes this the funniest thing. And I'll start. I have my bracket is like an armor-esque bracket. I have, of these 4 armor outfits, which one is the best? We have the Mandalorian armor, which is great at defending against lightsabers. We have Jedi armor, which, when you think about it, is there really much armor in Jedi armor? I think some of the, like Anakin, the young Anakin, not young Anakin, but like Clone Wars era Anakin, it looked more like leatherish type things to me than it did any type of real armor. But I guess their Jedi armor is more Jedi being Jedi than them needing armor. And then we have, which I think everybody, if we were to rank these, would probably rank this one last because it seems to be the most useless armor of all time, which is why I had to put it in there. Stormtrooper armor. And then finally, Darth Vader's armor. So I guess we'll just go around the table. Each one of you can give us an answer as to what you think is the best, and your points on each one, and then we'll all vote at the end and see which one of these 4 moves on to the final 4 bracket. So Ken, why don't you hit us up first, and you tell us what you think?
Well, I am partial to Mandalorian armor. In fact, as you can see behind me, I've got my own Mandalorian armor. In fact, I have an alter ego named Kenixgar Kabur, who was born on the planet Onderon. So I have a whole story behind it. And I've worn Mandalorian armor, so I can speak to that part of it. However, of the 4, my choice would be Jedi armor. And I'm not talking the Jedi armor from the Clone Wars era that you were talking about. I'm talking Jedi armor from the Old Republic era, where it was like foot to neck armor, and the coolest part about it was they were worn by Jedi, so they got to wield lightsabers while wearing the armor. So my choice, Jedi armor.
You're saying
1.
like was it the Acolyte, the like they're fancy, they were real fancy also, like gold and stuff like that?
No, that was High Republic. I'm talking even earlier than that.
Okay. You're going
non-canon.
old. Yeah, non-canon. Okay, excellent. Yep. All right. Who wants
I'm going to turn it over. I'm going to turn it over to David for his choice.
Yeah, so I'm actually going to agree with you here, Ken, on the Jedi being my most, which armor I think is the best, because Rob, you already brought up the idea of the Clone Wars armor, right? I think that is 2 of the coolest looks from a Jedi. Obi-Wan and Anakin's look from the Clone Wars. And seeing it in live action for the first time when we saw Ahsoka and Anakin came back and he was in his Clone Wars armor in those flashbacks, that was like kind of a cool moment for me, because I absolutely love like the Clone Wars. I love all the animated stuff, which I'm sure you guys do as well. But just as we were kind of talking, and you were talking about the Old Republic Jedi armor, another thought came to my mind about the Jedi Temple Guards as well, and their armor and how kind of cool those guys looked. So I definitely place a lot of emphasis on like the looks of different things, because you do want things to look cool, right? And when things look cool, that's kind of when I appreciate it as well. It doesn't always have to have functionality, like whether or not like the Clone Wars armor for Jedi was actually like armor or was it just leather, right? But it looks cool. And I feel like if I were to ever dress up as a Jedi for some reason, for some sort of event or Halloween, I'd probably want to go with that look. So I would definitely rank the Jedi up there. Probably Mandalorian armor second, Darth Vader third, just because of how painful apparently his armor is, and everything that it's doing to him. That's through this torturous device that the Emperor bestowed upon him, and then Stormtrooper armor last because it is completely useless.
Mike Hinton would disagree.
Well,
what do you think, Tom?
So I agree with you, and actually stole a little bit of my thunder, because the way I looked at this is, if I'm going to Comic-Con or some Star Wars event like Celebration, and I'm going to dress up as something and one of these four, what do I want to go as? And the absolute coolest, and I don't care what era you're talking about, even if you want to do Jedi robes, it's definitely Jedi. Jedi over Mandalorian. I actually thought your first two answers were going to be Mandalorian. I thought it was going to be a clean sweep, and I was going to be the only Jedi fan. But I definitely would say Jedi armor over all the rest. And it's head and shoulders above the rest. It wouldn't even be a question. I've already been Obi-Wan for Halloween. I've been Luke for Halloween. I've never been any of the others. I've never been a Mandalorian. I've never been Darth Vader or Stormtrooper. So Jedi's number one. All the rest are at the bottom for me. Rob, what do you think?
It's funny. I came up with the question, thought a little bit, but then really didn't put too much more thought into it, because I was like, I'm just gonna go off the cuff here and just figure it out as I go. So it doesn't really matter at all, because Jedi has already won 3 to whatever I pick. So Jedi's already moving on, but you guys all had really good, valid points as to why Jedi is the best. And I also think, like, if we're talking like wearing the armor, or wearing, if you had an opportunity to wear any one of these 4 costumes, I think, except for maybe Darth Vader, because even like going to Disney World or Disneyland, either one of them, and when you wait in line to get your picture taken with Darth Vader, even as adults, you still look at Darth Vader and you're like, please don't kill me. You know, like, he's so intimidating. So I think if it was like a Comic-Con, I think I might want to walk around in a Darth Vader costume until I ran into the other 9 Darth Vaders that were at Comic-Con. Then it like loses its thunder. But like, other than that, the Jedi is the second best like Comic-Con costume, I would think, because, you know, you could just do this all day long and people think you know the Force. And how many times I know you've all done it, everybody listening has done it, when you walk into CVS or a store, with the automatic opening doors, you definitely go, like, I love, my wife is just like, really, again? I'm like, I got it for you, babe. And whatever.
Every
and she's
time.
like, every time. So,
well, Rob, here's an interesting thing about what you're saying is, so you said if you go as Darth Vader, there's going to be a dozen other Darth Vaders there. Let's say we were all dressed up in our Jedi armor, Jedi robes. We would all be our own Jedi and all look different.
Right, exactly. And that's the cooler part about it, is that every Jedi is different. And even David was showing us pictures. I guess, did you go on the senior trip? Is that where you built your
I went
lightsaber?
on the senior trip last year.
Okay.
Yep.
So, and like, over my shoulder up here is my lightsaber that I built from Galaxy's Edge as well. And, so I have my own lightsaber, and my lightsaber is different than David's, because we did it in Savi's workshop. And and every Jedi, in the real Jedi, they all have something, their lightsabers are all completely different. So so I'm going to have to go with you. It's going to be a clean sweep of Jedi is the best of the armors. And I think Mandalorian would be second for me. Darth Vader's would be third, but it is such an intimidating character. I think if we're talking characters, that's a whole different story. And then, of course, as everybody in the world has pointed out, that Stormtroopers armor is completely useless. So,
one thing
ironically, the Stormtrooper costume is probably the most, the biggest costume of the most people.
Yeah.
Because what do you have? The whole 501st and that whole group.
Yeah.
Which is kind of ironic.
Yeah.
And I think the Stormtrooper and Darth Vader are easily recognizable by anyone. In fact, I think it was in the 80s, they did a survey of kids around the world, and Darth Vader was the most feared villain rated by children.
Yeah.
So everyone around the world knows that character, and having a Stormtrooper beside him is very noticeable. One of the reasons why I'm not a fan of the Stormtrooper costume is because an actual part of it is called the diaper. And I don't know if I want to necessarily wear a costume where it includes a diaper.
Is it the butt part that looks like depends?
Yes, absolutely.
That's what I thought.
Yeah,
but
and they're very uncomfortable to. Not, I haven't worn a stormtrooper costume. I only go by Mike's stories. But you can't sit in them, so they're uncomfortable to wear. So
yeah.
I think that's another reason why stormtrooper is the last on my list, and the Jedi is tip top.
Yep. All right. So the first one into the final four is Jedi armor. Is the first one into the final four. Ken has. You're up next with your ranking. Let's see what we have for the Ken bracket.
So my bracket's all about droids, and as I'm sitting here thinking about asking this question, I realize we probably could have very easily come up with 64 different droids to put into this.
We could.
However, what I've chosen to ask you guys about are, of these 4 droids, which is the sidekick that you would want to have the most? BB-8, K2SO, R2D2, or BT-1?
All right.
And I'm going to turn it over to David for his choices first.
Yeah, so immediately I was kind of thinking about, once again, like how cool these characters are, right? And I think like we can all agree that K2SO was an extremely cool droid from and like any sort of Star Wars content. I feel like he was very well liked, very well received when he came out. But I'm still going to stick with my guns here and go with the OG R2D2. Not just because he's R2D2, but just how helpful he actually has been through every single piece of Star Wars content. Like he's just there, he always is able to do something for anybody that needs help, and there's another aspect too that kind of is kind of cool with me too. I have a 2-year-old, and R2D2 is actually the first character where he was recognizing oh, this is a Star Wars character, and he has his R2D2 toy. Now he has an R2D2 water bottle, and I think that's pretty cool that was really the first character that stuck with him in his young Star Wars journey so far. So my rankings are going to go R2D2 1, K2SO 2, BB-8 3, and B2-1 4. Now, what do you think, Tom?
So, thinking back to when we were kids, well, 3 of us were kids. One still kid.
One still is.
I mean, we really only had a few droids. We had of course R2D2 C3PO, and there were a couple. Everybody knew the Gonk droid, and we all have the Kenner action figures of some of the droids, but there really wasn't a huge selection of droids. And I mean, R2D2 was my favorite. Now that we're adults and we have all these Star Wars shows and all these other Star Wars movies, we have been introduced to so many more interesting droids. I'm sorry, R2D2. I apologize to you, but I think there's way more interesting droids out there. And K2SO, I think, has him beat. He's definitely my favorite droid of almost any movie that's come out with Star Wars. He's funny. He's obviously smart. He's witty. I would love for him to be my co-pilot. I love his sarcasm. I'm really excited to see him in the Andor show coming up. When I saw Andor was coming out, I'm like, I hope K2SO is in this. And then when he wasn't, and I kind of understood once the show was over that why he wasn't in it. And now I know obviously he's going to be in season 2 where he's gonna meet Cassian Andor in some kind of mission or whatever. So I'm really looking forward to that because he is my favorite Star Wars droid. So I mean, I definitely like K2SO BB-8 over R2D2 and BT-1. So, but K2SO takes the cake for me. What do you think, Ken? Or no, we all have to Rob. We're over to Rob.
All right, so I had to look up who BT-1 was. He's a crazy little droid there. He was a homicidal BT-1 assassin droid created by the Galactic Empire's Tarkin Initiative after being found and reactivated by Dr. Afra. Dr. Afra. BT-1 and his fellow droid 000s, which, speaking of Mike knows all about 000, served under Lord Vader, and when Alpha faked his own death, he and 000 continued to roam the galaxy with her. So, looking at the picture of BT-1, he's got a lot of like while R2-D2 is like a Swiss Army knife, but has everything tucked away nice and neatly. This picture of BT1 does not. Has everything out in the open. Rocket launchers and flamethrowers and whatever else are all right there, like saying, like, don't mess with me, I'll just blow you up type of thing. So that's cool, but I also, maybe I'm not as good of a Star Wars fan as you guys are. I don't really, I didn't know BT1 before this, so he's going to be pretty low on my list. R2-D2 is the Swiss Army knife, is the consistent through all of the movies, which, then you see the meme. It's like, well, if R2-D2 was really there, why didn't he just tell Luke that Anakin was his dad? And, all this other nonsense and whatever. And how come he didn't recognize him when he saw him again? And, whatever. But I do like, R2-D2 seems to be the only droid that when you put him in a starship and you get hit by a bomb, he can fix it. When one of your wings is on fire, R2's like, I got you, and he fixes it. Where all the other droids, their heads just spin around in circles and are like panicking, whatever. So I think it's tough because when I was a kid, the little Kenner things, the only one that I really had was R2-D2, and I loved that little R2-D2 Kenner droid. I played with his head all the time, but K2SO is so funny and so creative and so witty, and just his one line, when they shoot the other K2 droid, and he's like, how did you know that wasn't me? And they were like, yeah. So it really added that extra, because with R2-D2, everybody in Star Wars can understand his beeps and boops, but we can't. But we could understand K2, so it was a lot of fun, like having him talk, and he was very creative. I think I'm gonna have to go with Tom on this one and put K2SO in the number 1 spot, R2-D2 in the number 2 spot. BB-8 was the new kids version of R2-D2. It was different. If you would have thrown Chopper in there, I think I probably would have taken Chopper over all of these. But BB-8 and then BT1 are definitely 3 and 4 for me, somewhere in there. Luckily Chopper's not there, so I'm gonna go with K2SO. And Ken, you can make it a tie. You could answer one of the different ones. What do you think? And let's see what happens and who escapes this round.
Well, it's funny that you bring up R2-D2 and children, because the beeps and the boops were originally baby voices that Ben Burt fiddled with to turn into those beeps and boops. And like I said earlier, I could have come up with a whole bunch of other droids. We could have talked about L337 or SM33 or Pip droid from the Acolyte. So it was really hard to pick these 4. And I'm going to go for the tip top, the winner of this bracket with K2SO. He can pilot ships. He can hold blasters. He can, like you said, he can sling sarcasm like nobody's business. And he's really, really tall, so he can reach things off the top of the refrigerator without any problems. So K2SO for the win.
There you go, K2SO for the win. Sorry, David, you picked the wrong one.
It's all good. It's all good there. Is that a BD droid behind you there, Ken, as well? That I see?
Let's see.
Up on your shelf there, yeah.
Yeah, I love the BD droids as well. Oh, BT.
Yeah,
talk about the BD.
Up on
droid.
top, above your helmets there, our.
Yes.
There
so
you
actually,
go. Yes.
I have a BD droid. I have an RX droid. There's a Lola droid. There's a R2FU droid. Yeah, so I have a handful of droids up here in the corner.
Nice.
And that's just some of the things that we have tucked around in this menagerie of things. And with that in mind, I'm going to turn the microphone over to you, David. I'm really curious to hear what your question is for us tonight.
Oh yeah, so I came up kind of sticking to like similar ideals that you guys are going about, like ranking certain things. And we had a whole conversation in our Facebook Messenger group about, the noises in Star Wars and sending the video of the seismic charge for 10 hours,
Yes.
playing looping back and forth. And I decided to go with ranking Star Wars noises in the Star Wars universe. So the 4 noises that I came up with are Luke's green lightsaber igniting, the seismic charge, Darth Vader breathing, and then the pod racing from the Phantom Menace, with a bonus 5th one being the droids in there. Roger, Roger. So I'm going to send this off to Tom to see what you think.
So the interesting thing about this question is the sounds are so different.
Yeah.
Like I would love to do this with 4 sounds from all the same category, like comparing Luke's lightsaber igniting to like Vader's to Kylo Ren's. Like this was really really tough because the sounds are so different. I don't even know how to compare them. But there was one that really stood out to me that I thought was the coolest sound I've almost ever heard. And that was from Attack of the Clones, the seismic charge. I mean, that with that chase and then hearing that seismic charge, and the theater got so quiet when before it blew, like that silence, and then that sound of that charge. It was awesome. I have to say that was the coolest Star Wars sound that I've ever heard before. So my vote's definitely for the seismic charge. I don't really have a favorite, like a second favorite of the other ones. I would just put the Roger Roger way at the bottom. That one for me, like it's from the Phantom Menace. It just, I don't know. It felt like that was just thrown in for the kids, and I guess it worked, right? So for me, that's all the way at the bottom. But seismic charge definitely wins for me. What do you think, Robert?
So I was trying to figure out if we had a music person on the show. He knows what note the seismic charge is, but he's not here tonight. So I don't know if you guys know what note it is. Maybe Ken knows. Ken knows a lot of stuff. Do you know what the? I think it's like
not off the top of my head. I don't know.
Yeah. But each one of these has a different. Like if you close your eyes, you can envision the sound. Without even hearing it, you can envision. Luke's green lightsaber igniting. The seismic charge is so like iconic. Like it's like a guitar string. It's just one guitar string. I don't know what note. G flat. I don't even think that's a real note. That's why I love saying it all the time. So it's like just like boom, But the pod racing noises from Phantom Menace were distinctive, but I also think same thing with like the Roger Roger. Like that was George Lucas's era of like exploration and creativity and really trying to do more than he needed to do. And like I just didn't like the sounds of the pod racers, the sounds that they made, because it just seemed too fake. Like I wanted to hear, I don't know, a regular, like sometimes when you hear like a car engine, like it's a car engine, but there was like a whatever the weird noise was. I wasn't too fond of that. And also the Roger Roger is fun, but if you were watching a black screen and you didn't know what it was, a preview, but you didn't know what it was for, and you're in the theater, everything is black, and all you hear is you immediately know, oh my God, Darth Vader's about to show up. So I think I'm going to go with Darth Vader breathing as the most iconic Star Wars sound, probably with the seismic charge right behind it, because anybody who has seen the seismic charge or has seen that is like, oh my God, that's amazing. And yes, I did listen to 3 straight minutes of your 10 hours of the seismic charge going off over and over and over again, and I'm like, I could fall asleep to this. I think I could definitely just like fall asleep to this. But I think Darth Vader's breathing is way more iconic than any of the other sounds that we have on there. So that's my pick. Ken, what about you? What do you think?
Yeah, there's no denying that Vader's breathing is iconic. The fact that it's been in our collective eardrums since '77 is absolutely insane. And all you have to hear is the inhale and the exhale,
yep.
And you know that something wild is about to go down. And the Roger Roger, I mean, we can't deny how fun it is.
Yeah.
It's shown up in the movies. It's shown up in the Lego video games. It's shown up in the cartoons, and it is really silly. And I think you're absolutely right that it was there for the kids in all of us. However, that's not the sound I picked, and I didn't even pick the seismic charge. And I don't know if you've really thought about it much, but the seismic charge is not so much the sound itself, but it's also that brief moment of no sound.
No sound,
that
yeah.
brief moment of silence followed by the rest of that twang. And I'm not sure if it is a single note or if it's another one of Ben Burtt's masterpieces where he merged a whole bunch of things together electronically. And my answer is probably one that might surprise you. It's the pod race. It is the pod race because for me, that brings me right back to the Phantom Menace. That was the return of Star Wars in the theater, and you can close your eyes, and especially if you get to listen to it in the theater, and you just hear all of those sounds going on around you. And it was one of the few times in that movie where there wasn't any music. There was no soundtrack, no orchestra playing. It was just the sounds of those different engines whizzing around you. And so that's why, for me, it's that the pod race that wins the top spot.
That's a good point. Like I never even thought of that whole scene. There's no racing music. It's all sound effects.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the music stops during the parade of the parade of the flags. Mm-hmm. They go into the race, and I think it's in the last segment of the final lap where we start to hear the music again.
Mm-hmm.
And so I encourage you don't have to do it tonight, but at some point, bring up that scene and just close your eyes and listen to all the different pieces. And once again, it's Ben Burtt's masterpiece where he put a little bit of this car engine mixed with this airplane propeller and this washing machine motor, and all of those different things come to life. And you can almost envision the different pod racers or different pods just based on the rumbling and the whirring of the different noises.
All right, well,
what's your overall pick there, man? You gotta decide.
Yeah, I was gonna say, David, this puts you in a bad spot here now because there's three different answers. Are you gonna pick one of ours, or are you gonna pick another one? And then we got
So I think I'm not gonna have like a brief pause here and just makes a different answer to what I was going to pick, because like I created this question knowing what the answer was going to be. I'm sure you can assume what I'm going to pick based on the video I sent you the other day too.
Okay.
So I am going to go with Seismic Charge, and Seismic Charge is going to win this part of the bracket as top choice with 2 out of the 4 of us voting for it. And you made a great point there, Ken, that I was going to speak on as well, about that brief pause before that noise is made, right? The seismic charge happens, just that little bit of silence and like the anticipation of like what's going to happen next. And then this just, that noise, it's just like, so I don't know if I even appreciated it as much when I was a little younger, okay? As much as I do now, as I've gone back and rewatched all these movies so many times. I'm just like, holy crap, that's cool, like I feel like more of a more recent discovery of mine where I'm like, this noise is awesome, so I definitely am going to go with that for the win, followed by Luke's green lightsaber, the pod racing from the Phantom Menace, because I feel like I have actually done that before. I've closed my eyes and listened to the pod race, and I'm just like, this is phenomenal, like just you feel like you're there because of the almost like silence in the background, and then just hear all of these noises from all the different pod racers, the explosions, the crashes and everything like that. I feel like Darth Vader's breathing should be a little higher on my list, but I put it at 4. And not saying that it's not iconic, because it is obviously iconic, but I'm thinking more of like sound effects, I guess, if that makes sense. And then the Roger Roger at the bottom of the list, I just added in there for some good clean some fun there.
Comedy relief.
Exactly, comedic relief.
Also, with the seismic charge in the theater, when that happened, that was probably the loudest point of the movie as well. Like, not only was it dead silent, and then the iconic guitar string, but it was so loud that you were like, whoa, like it really shook you, like you were like,
Yes.
Oh my goodness. So it definitely added more to it, but whatever. I thought I had a perfect bracket going tonight, but my
busted,
my
just like,
bracket is
like Louisville busting half of the brackets earlier today.
They sure did. They sure did.
And that seismic charge can't be denied by anybody. It didn't matter whether you were young, old, fan or not. Hearing that sound in the theater, especially for the first time, everybody was just like dumbstruck
Yep.
with how intense it was. Especially when you also got the ripples of the exploding asteroids and all of that. Like just wild.
Wild.
And
Yeah.
I'm sure people were excited as well that it was coming from a Mandalorian as well.
Yeah.
Not seeing one on screen since, before.
Yeah. All right. And our last bracket is Thomas's bracket. What do you got for us?
Yeah, so this is the weird bracket because I am tiring of these best of lists, and I'm tired of seeing the best teams always play against each other and the best things pitted against each other. I want to see the worst go against the worst. I think that's going to be just as interesting. So there is a play-in round. So you're going to give me one answer for this play-in round because these two movies were so close. Which is the worst movie? Attack of the Clones or Phantom Menace? Just pick one. Ken, what do you think?
So I'm giving you the worst one?
The worst movie of Attack of the Clones and Phantom Menace.
Yeah, I don't that does not compute.
No, you have to vote. One has to lose.
One has to lose.
One has to lose. They
Attack
can't all
of the
be
Clones, The Phantom Menace.
great. Episode 1 or episode 3?
Oh,
Has to lose. There's no ties. There's no ties in Star Wars.
so today, just today, I will say The Phantom Menace. As
David.
oddly as that comes across, because I'm a huge Jar Jar Binks fan, I'm going to say Attack of the Clones gets beat by, Phantom Menace gets beat by Attack of the Clones.
David.
So I'm telling
Worst
you what
movie of the
worst
two.
one is. The worst one of the two. I'm going to go with Attack of the Clones just because I love Duel of the Fates from the Phantom Menace, and I don't think anything beats that. So I'm going to go Attack of the Clones, worst one.
All right, Robert, this is you.
I'm going to go with
You're
Attack
the
of the
decider for
Clones
the playing
also.
game.
I wanted to see so much more angry Darth Vader, and Attack of the Clones did not deliver on angry Darth Vader. So I'm going also with Attack of the Clones.
All right, so Attack of the Clones is in the round of 4. So typically we always do what's the top 5 Star Wars movies, best 3 Star Wars movies. We're going to talk about the worst 4 Star Wars movies. And the bottom 3 were pretty conclusive in my research. And we had to have this playoff game because Attack of the Clones and Phantom Menace, people were teeter-tottering back and forth and they were saying both, but it looks like Attack of the Clones made it in. So here are the bottom 4 Star Wars movies. So I want you to pick the worst of those 4 movies. We're picking the worst of the worst. We have Attack of the Clones, which just made it in, The Last Jedi, The Rise of Skywalker, or Solo, A Star Wars Story. Robert, I'm going to start with you. What is the worst of those 4 movies?
I liked Solo. I don't care what anybody else says. I did not mind Solo at all. It was, for me, it was enjoyable. I think I'm going with... See, I need them in the episode number order instead because I know 6, 7, 8 is my least favorite. Last Jedi, is that the one in the middle?
Last Jedi.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, so I think I'm going to say of all of those choices, Last Jedi is my least favorite. So that would win the best of the worst. That is the worst of the worst. So Last Jedi for me. Ken, what do you think?
Once again, I don't know if I like this kind of ranking, but
That's why I did it. I want to make everybody uncomfortable.
I appreciate it.
This is what makes us real Star Wars fans now, that we're hating on Star Wars.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, so now I can put that as a sticker. I'm a real Star Wars fan. It's official.
It's official now.
I think for me, in this moment, just because I feel confident and comfortable to hang out with friends and can get away with saying this, I'm going to put The Rise of Skywalker at the bottom of the heap. And there's only one reason why I'm putting it at the bottom of the heap, and it's the smooch between Rey and Kylo. I didn't understand it. I didn't think it was necessary, especially when it was just, and I apologize for the listeners, that spoiler warning. They smooched, and then Kylo Ren died.
Right.
Just, I don't know, it was something she ate.
It was. She had garlic.
Garlic breath.
Garlic breath.
Like so Rise of Skywalker at the bottom of the heap. How about you, David? What's your worst of the worst of the worst?
Yeah, so I know, like, I think the answer could be either of those two, The Last Jedi or The Rise of Skywalker. But I always think back to it. And actually a conversation that I had with my cousins about this years ago, not years ago, within the past year, they were pretty much telling me, like, okay, I really like the sequels more than I like the prequels. And their one reason was because they got to see Han Solo again, and they got to see the Millennium Falcon fly across the screen and things like that, which I completely understand. Obviously, those things are extremely cool, and the nostalgia factor of it for people who grew up with the originals is definitely a huge factor into whether or not you like the sequels more than the prequels. Because, the prequels got a lot of hate, too, when they were coming out, and now, more than ever, they are appreciated than and more, they have a lot more positive reception than they did, let's say, like 10, 15 years ago. Now, with that being said, like, I personally like the Last Jedi when it originally came out, when it was new and it came out, and before anything else happened afterwards, and we learned all about how Disney didn't have a plan for these movies,
right?
All of these things happening, right, which just pissed me off. Because there's so many cool things they could have done. And once again, I still enjoyed them. I watched them. I really liked them. But The Rise of Skywalker just was just a complete miss for me. Just because of the whole idea, all the things we found out after the fact. All these movies came out a couple years later, but just the fact that all these things they were trying to set up in The Last Jedi, all these like kind of new concepts to go along with the Force, and there's a bunch of things that they were trying to do, and I thought some of them were cool, but then they just threw it out the window with The Rise of Skywalker, and we got something completely different than what we thought we were going to get. At least that was my perception of it. Mm-hmm. So for that reason, The Rise of Skywalker is last on my list as well.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm saying this not because it makes my bracket 4 for 4, which it is, but I'm choosing The Rise of Skywalker. I agree with you guys. It is not a good movie. It is the only Star Wars movie that I've watched once. The other Star Wars movies I've seen dozens, if not hundreds of times. I've seen bits and pieces of it, but I just can't watch it every time it comes on, like almost every other Star Wars movie. I think Solo is criminally in this bottom 4. I don't agree with it. I just went on the research that I did, and Solo seemed to be in the bottom 4 of almost everyone's list. I think the other movies are definitely in my bottom 4, my bottom 5. I was going back and forth between The Last Jedi and the Rise of Skywalker, but David, I agree with you. I think the Last Jedi has too many cool moments in it. It has some really neat things. It has some really bad scenes. Like I didn't appreciate the Canto Bite thing, the racing set. There were so many things I didn't like about the movie.
Leia flying through the sky like Mary Poppins.
Yeah, Mary Poppins.
See, now you don't make me change my mind. So there were some really bad parts of that movie, but it had some really neat parts. I thought, Kylo killing Snoke was pretty cool. I thought that scene was really good. I really liked the scene in the throne room where they fight the guards, the royal guards, I guess you could still call them. I don't even know if they had a name, but Snoke's guards. I thought that was a really, really neat scene. So, The Last Jedi is definitely in my bottom 4, but I don't think it's as bad as Rise of Skywalker. And I really don't blame JJ either. I think had JJ had all 3 episodes to himself, and he had a clear story arc and a clear start and finish and everything in between, I think we would have been a little happier Star Wars fans, because it definitely got off the rails after The Force Awakens, which is one of my top 5 movies, ironically. So to me, the Rise of Skywalker takes the cake. 365 days a year. It's just not a good movie. It's not a good ending. It was a very disappointing ending to a 9-movie saga that I still haven't gotten over. And the movie's been out 5-6 years already, and I haven't gotten over it yet. So that's it from me. So my bracket was 4-0, clean sweep.
I just want to defend myself and say I disliked The Last Jedi for all the same reasons that you guys disliked The Rise of Skywalker, because The Rise of Skywalker tried to go back and change everything that Rian Johnson did in the second one, and it was the same concept to me, which was like they should have had that giant overarching story idea, which they didn't have. And in my opinion, the middle one there was they did a lot of really cool things, but then the reason why you guys don't like the last one the most is because then in that one they go back and they go, yeah, we're just going to erase history. We're not doing any of those things anymore, and we're just going to go this way instead. So that's my defense. It doesn't make my bracket any stronger. I'm still 2 for 4, but yeah, that's my defense there. All right, so now in the final 4, we have, in no particular order.
Definitely no particular order.
Definitely no particular order.
These are so random.
So random. Which is the best? Jedi armor, K2SO, the seismic charge, or the best of the worst, which is...
Well, I think we can already vote on that one.
The
that
Rise
one's going
of
to be
Skywalker.
the bottom of the 4.
Yeah. So
unless it's so bad that it's the best.
That's the best.
That's true. That's another way to look at it. For
so
sure.
I mean, I don't even know how to compare these 4, but somehow we have to try. We have to come up with what is the best of these 4 things. And since Tom threw away his bracket by making it the worst of, I think that's easy to get us down to 3. So is Jedi armor better than the seismic charge, or better than what was the other thing in there? The
what if we thought about it
K2SO.
this way?
Yes.
What do we think most other Star Wars fans of these 4 things would pick as their top?
Okay. Yeah. So of these 4 things, okay, if we're looking, see, Star Wars fans versus regular people. Now we got 2 different things here. So, like, is this the 200 million people fill out an NCAA bracket who didn't even know that Kansas was where they couldn't even find Kansas on a map, or know that they had a basketball team, or for that matter, multiple colleges in Kansas? Or are we going with Star Wars fans who know these 4 things? I guess if we go with Star Wars fans who know these 4 things, we'll go with that instead. Yeah. Because otherwise, like if you said K2SO or seismic charge to somebody who doesn't know anything about Star Wars, they're gonna go, huh? So they would. I think Jedi armor would win because they would know the word Jedi. I picked the Jedi, but so of the So I'm gonna go first with my pick of these 4. And it's very difficult. I'm going to go with that. It is pretty difficult because the seismic charge is iconic. K2SO is a very good droid, very fun droid, and the Jedi armor is pretty neat.
Can I stop you here for a second?
Yeah, stop me here for a second.
Would we be able to put our answers down somewhere so we aren't influenced?
So we're not all. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So
yeah.
Write it down on a piece of paper somewhere or something by your desk, and then we'll all hold it up at the same. It'll be like heads up.
So what if we thought of it this way? of these four things, we had to pick one to keep.
Okay.
So the Star Wars fans have to choose of these four things. One of them stays, the other three go away.
The other three go away. Oh, wow. Okay.
Okay. I like this.
I think this makes it a little easier.
Yeah,
for me.
I think this if the other three are going away, it's easy to get rid of the Rise of Skywalker. That would make a lot of people happy.
You're not supposed to be influencing our decision.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Well, I got to get
It's called the Final Four, Rob, not the Final Three.
That's right.
The other people have a buy round that.
That's right.
We're good.
All right.
So are we going with what Ken said?
I think so. I think it'll make the decision a little easier and make this podcast end a little quicker.
I'm ready to turn whenever you guys.
Okay. Tom's writing a lot of words. He's writing.
He's writing the Rise of
Skywalker down there.
He wants to keep it.
He does. He's like, this is my favorite thing to hate of all time. All right, so here we go. Final four. You got Jedi Armor, K2SO, Seismic Charge, or Rise of Skywalker. And everybody says they would keep and get rid of everything else. Seismic Charge, K2SO, wearing Jedi Armor. Okay, I got Jedi Armor. David has Jedi Armor.
This is the real one.
K2SO. All right. Well, with a 2-1-1, Jedi Armor wins. Because in my opinion, if you don't have Jedi Armor, you have no Star Wars. That is what Star Wars is. So if we're getting rid of everything else, you can't have you can't have naked Jedi running around. That would just be silly. That's a whole different Star Wars movie. They have robes. That is true. So it looks like
up their Manfred.
Yes. So Jedi Armor wins because David and I were right and you guys were wrong.
Glad we cleared that one up.
I'm glad we did clear that one up.
Clearly.
So the most
bracket busted.
Yeah, the most useless Star Wars bracket of all time is now complete, and
but the best Star Wars bracket we've ever done.
That was the best Star Wars bracket that we have ever done. So there we go. Before we go, I know Ken is on like 7,000 different podcasts. So Ken, go ahead and plug away. Let us know all the other places that we can follow you.
Sure thing. So I'm a part of a trio that does the Inflatable Falcon. I co-host that with Mike Hinton and John Scalise. I'm part of a dynamic duo. We do the Bounty Hunting Across the Galaxy with Todd and Ken. I also have my own solo show, which recently got launched on YouTube, The Rambling Star Wars Fan. And I just realized tonight that hanging out with you makes me now part of a Star Wars quartet.
You have it all.
So I've got it all. I probably will stop when I get to that I'm a member of a 12-part jury.
Yeah, that's
where you can find me.
That's too many people talking at one time when there's 12 of us out there. All right, and I'm here all the time whenever I feel like doing a show. Nick and I will be breaking down whether he likes it or not. And if he doesn't, I might pull you three guys in and do it instead. And we'll be the new Bantha Milk podcast. Just not boot him out, but just, he never shows up. So it's his fault. Whatever. I have a new baby at home, blah,
There's
blah,
no
blah.
Reason why, reason why Bantha Milk podcast can't have two different formats.
That's right. So when that new show comes out, I didn't hear anything about it at all. I think you guys were calling it Andor. It is going to be tough for us with 3 episodes a week. That's going to be a lot of breaking down to do. But yeah, so when Andor comes out, I'm going to drag Nick out and we're going to break down that as well. I was just recorded one of my favorite podcasts that I listen to all the time called The Hub Crawl, HUBCRAWL. They're a Disney podcast that do the same thing that I stole this idea from them. So 4 people talking all about Disney stuff, and it doesn't have to be Disney parks or Disney movies or whatever. We just did a super long episode last night, and it was very fun, and it was really good. It's going to come out in a couple of weeks. So check me out over there if you want to. You can hear my voice some more over on the Hub Crawl. But that's it. I know Tom and David, you guys, this is it for you guys. So you guys don't need to plug anything.
Yeah, you can check me out at Bantha Milk Podcast.
That's
pretty much the only place I'm at.
Check me out at Pirate Boys Volleyball on Instagram.
There you go. That's true. David did just do a really cool thing. You raised a couple $1,000s there to shave your heads. That was very nice of you.
Nice.
Yeah, I've been doing that for the past 4 years through the St. Baldrick's organization, which is for childhood cancer research. A team of West Windsor coaches has been doing it for the past 15 years. So I joined in the fund 4 years ago, and I plan on doing it for as long as I can. So
nicely done.
It's funny. It must be right before boys volleyball season every year because I feel like I've only ever seen you with a bald head.
Yeah. I end up keeping it short most like this most of the year.
Yeah.
And then I grow it out like after the new year for the head shaving.
For the head shaving. That's cool.
Yep.
Very good.
Yep.
Well, that's for a good cause. I love it. I'm afraid if I were to do that, nothing would grow back, and I would just be stuck without any hair. So, all right. Well, until next time, we'll be doing this again in a month from now, and we'll also have a lot of Andor stuff to talk about in between there. So, Tom, take us out of here, will you please?
All right, gentlemen, it was fun. It was a fun episode. I loved having this different kind of format with a little bracket, breaking down some brackets of stuff that normally you wouldn't go together, and we made it go together, and we made it work. So I can't wait to talk to you guys again in a couple weeks. And until then, can I give you a little bit of advice?
Please do.
Always let the Wookiee win.
That is true.
Solid.
All right, I stopped the Audacity and now stopped